Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm visiting my nephew on his allotment. I'm here really to help, but of course, as an artist, I'm always on the lookout for new subjects, and I think I maybe found one. I've painted this before when all the leaves were missing, but I rather like this view because we've got some leaf there, and although it's a very dull day here on the allotment, it really is an ideal, it's still a lovely location and a lovely setting really. Well, hi everyone, I've just returned from a lovely morning spent on my nephew's allotment, and I'm so inspired by what I saw in as regards the autumn leafing that although I hadn't got my painting gear on me, I'd got a little sketchbook that I made a very small sketch. Well, there is the little pencil sketch, a little bit closer so you can see, very quick 5-minute sketch, but it really, I think, picks up the feeling of the day. I'm not gonna even look at any photographs. I'm purely going to use this and my memory. Well, here we go then. That's the drawing on the board, and let's put some basic colours on. It's a lovely warm day. Well, wasn't warm, wasn't even sunny, but I'm imagining this on a bit more of a interesting sort of a sky day. I don't want to catch the dead feel of a very cold autumn subject. I'm looking for something a little bit more lively. So the tree, okay, I'm going to use raw sienna and burnt sienna to start with a little light red, actual fact quite a bit of light red, and I'm going to put where the tree is a bit more yellow there, dropping in, trying to pick up these very early autumn colours. A little bit of cadmium too here and there, and I'm painting around the roof lines. All I'm doing is laying on a basic wash. Now we have quite a yellowy green there, and I'll paint over the figure. Well, it's a yellowy autumn colour there. This side we do have a little bit of blue in there, so I'm going to knock that back a little bit and just put that in like that, down as far as the edge there. And then we've got some darker trees. Well, let's put some darker colour in there. Soften. That's it. Immediately, once you lay on these colours, you begin to see exactly where you are, so don't be afraid to go over with some washes in certain areas. And then of course in the foreground we've got starting off with raw sienna, stroking across. These will all be certain green at some point. Then I'm introducing cadmium yellow. So you start off with your light colours, you bring in your darker colours at a later time. If you start off with anything too dark, then you're going to lose the freshness. And that's all I'm going to do for the start of this painting. Next will come the sky. Okay, So the sky, I'm going to put some blue on, and the blue I'm going to use is Prussian blue. Could be Windsor blue, but I'm using Prussian. And I'm going to have a little bit of light coming from the left, so the darker of the sky will be on the right. And while it's still damp, just roll that into there. Try and introduce a little bit within the, like that. Look at that. Then as we run out of picture, I'm going to put in a little bit of light red, quite a lot of light red there, and pull that across the tree like that. And then a little bit more blue, quite a strong patch of blue somewhere there, just to pick up that corner, and one or two touches within that warm tone that side. Look at that, lovely and fresh. That's what we're looking for, and then we allow that to dry back. And while that is drying back, I'm going to put light red onto these sheds. I'm putting that one in strong light red, and when I come down I'm using spiky bits because we've got tall grasses there, not been trimmed lately. The person on the allotment hasn't trimmed that lately. Well, that's what we'll say anyway. And then I'm going to add burnt umber to that to create a slightly less intense colour, more brown, for the back one. And that way, that one comes forward, this one stands back. We're thinking of autumn all the time. That's what we're trying to do. And I'm just cleaning that brush, mopping a little paint off, just trying to stop. I'm working at an angle. If you notice, I'm working almost perfectly upright, and that is how I want to treat this one, really. Probably see the sky is still damp there, so what I'm going to do, I'm using a little cobalt blue and a little raw sienna in a fairly strong mix. That's a fairly strong mix. A little bit more blue into that, and I'm painting some form of distance behind that lighter tree there, because I want to get a little bit of depth. There you go. That'll do for that distance area. I always like to have a bit of depth behind. If I just put those pure brighter colours, just want something just over the back. Now I've gone Prussian blue and Indian red. Quite a strong colour, that, because I'm going to paint in the roof there, the roof line there. I've been dark with that purely because it's going to be light behind that. Then I'm just adding more water to create a lighter roof there, because that's going to be light against a dark background, so it really is contrast. I like painting these old sheds because they don't have to be painted particularly well, really, you know. Okay, now I'm going to pick up, I'm going to work my way from left to that area there, right to left to that area there, and from left right to this area here. Hopefully that roof will be dry by then. Right, okay, so now for this I'm going to use cadmium yellow with Prussian blue, and then I'm putting a bit of burnt sienna with it. So that's that corner, and the sky's still a little bit damp, but that's don't want to attract too much interest to that outside edge. All of the lines I leave will be uneven. Notice I've got a jagged edge. I'm trying to continue that right the way through. Okay, now burnt sienna with Prussian blue, and plenty of burnt sienna and Prussian blue. Real strong mix this. So we get a bit of soft. See, we're still getting a softness to the top of the clump of that greenery. And then we're painting back in. Now with our light wash underneath, we can either go light or dark. And I'm going to go dark. Let's just pick up a bit of light here. Now I'm leaving an edge then for that tree in case I want that to be light. Then I'm going more Prussian, more burnt sienna, more Prussian. Nice bit of brown in that. And I'm leaving just some grass, some taller grasses standing up. I'm using this green, this colour, to create a bit of interest as it runs out of picture. There are some taller stuff there, a little bit of shrubbery or whatever going on. And then just before it dries, a nice bang of blue in there, right in that lower area. Touch there too. And then we create some spiky bits. And as I've said to you before, spiky bits, that's my technical term basically. Right, now I'm using burnt umber within that. So I'm playing with Prussian blue, Prussian blue, burnt umber and burnt sienna. Now the burnt umber being a darker brown will give me a somewhat darker tree here, because this I want, and remove a lot of the moisture from the brush, trying to get a different strata of tree. There you go. It's like a fir tree affair, if I remember rightly. And see how either side I've left the fact that we've got that lovely distance area. Right, now I'm adding more blue and more brown. Same too, burnt umber, and Prussian blue. Now I'm painting again into that area like that. I'm going to leave a little shrub there. That's nice. I like that little sparkle. Yeah, I don't mind that. A little bit more water now. A bit more burnt umber. Yeah, there you go. Don't mind that clump. It's a clump of something. Now the figure is going to be dark, right? So the figure is dark against the light background. So clean the brush. Cadmium yellow, just a little bit of blue still on the brush, but mainly cadmium yellow. Just make certain we clean that. Just a little bit of blue to create a green, a lovely autumn sort of green colour like that. There we go. And that figure is then going to be dark against that light background. We don't want too much interest there because the figure will take the interest. And that's that little passage from right to left. Now I'm going to do the little passage from left to right now. And I'm using cadmium yellow and burnt sienna. Lovely autumn colours they are, and I'm putting those in there first. And I'm going to use a different technique here, trying to get some spiky bits on those trees just to ring the changes. Yeah, that's a nice colour, isn't it? And then to darken that, I'm adding Prussian blue, and this is going to be a totally different strata of tree coming in on that right hand side. I want that too bold, but there we go. And as we come down, raw sienna, and I'm leaving some clumps there on the ground, something going on there on the ground, not sure what, but we'll have a think about that later on. There is a bin there which I elected to put in. Burnt sienna going into that now with burnt umber to create the darker interim area running out of picture. Trying to remain colourful. And then I'm going to use, this is going to be the darkest passage. So I'm going to use I'm using Indian red with Prussian blue, and that will give me a lovely, really dark colour. More red to start, like that. See how that gives that little area interest. And then with the point of the brush, I'm trying to pick, and I'm not using a maul stick to rest because I want this to be very, very loose. So I'm just not really concerned if it doesn't come up perfect shape. So that old bin at the front there, to just try and get into that corner, no problem. Leave it like that. In actual fact, I think that's probably dark enough. Let's just go one tone darker with a little bit more blue right in that corner part there, because that's where most of the just sharpen that up just a touch if I can get the brush shaped correctly. There we go. And pull that right the way down. And a little bit of that coming in that side. Little marks, specks and spots. There we go. And that's pretty much that, really. Now I'm sticking with the large brush. If you notice, it's only just damped, so it's not fully loaded with water. And I'm going into my burnt sienna, and I'm going to use mainly burnt sienna for this lovely old oak tree. And there you go. Look at the strength of that burnt sienna. And we have the outside edge just coming up there. It is a little bit open, I seem to remember, at that point. Okay, that's it. Now I'm adding a little more water and a little cadmium yellow for the somewhat soft areas. It sort of like tucks back. You've got to remember these autumn trees, they don't have a great deal of leafing. You can actually see through them quite well. It's going to be light then against that dark tree. There we go. And then we're going raw sienna, nice and soft, finishing off along the base edge there. Look at that lovely autumn colours. Isn't that brilliant? Now all we do, we use brown, which is the burnt umber, in a very dry mix to indicate some darker stuff here and there, which there will be. Obviously, if you've got a little bit of sunlight onto these trees, you will have darker passages. The lovely old oaks that overhang, the branches overhang, and this side will be the darker side. So that's where we need quite strong burnt umber. So, you know, I'm trying to keep away from colours really. Well, hang on, we've got to go in between there. There you go. That's it. I'm trying to keep away from using lots of sort of like these colours. Just go in with burnt umber, sorry, really dark on that right hand side. There, like that. That's it, because it overhangs there. But this side, still got little dark areas, but not too much in the way of dark stuff there. Try and give the feeling that you've got branches overhanging. Perfect. All it needs now is the trunking. While that is drying, I'm going to put a little bit more cadmium yellow into parts of this area there. Oh, that's nice. See the way I've pulled that in? That's actually running into that. I can live with that. A little bit there. A bit more cadmium there, just a splash. Because the sun is hitting that side there. And then we pull that through like that. Perfect. See the way I've left little specks and spots of colour that is just running in, and then I'm going to go burnt umber just to darken that right hand side. Not too dark, not as dark as the background. There you go. Trying to get that uneven feel that you get from these old allotments. That's what I saw on the day, so that's what we're getting. Okay, now I'm going to use light red here to indicate some form of path that runs towards the bin. Let's just really strengthen that light red. There you go. And there's sort of like a path area here. Indian red. There you go. And that path area runs like that. So we've got something in this foreground that's taken our eye towards that focal point. Let's put a little bit of grass and whatever around that bin, a little bit of earthy stuff. There we are. And then a little bit of Prussian, a little bit of cadmium to create a green now, which I'm going to introduce across here. We've got beds of planting like that. And one or two beds there, but not too much. And then burnt umber, just blended in here and there. And as I come forward, I've been much bolder with these brush strokes. And of course, we've got lots of little bits and bobs going on here. That you see, you know, that's exactly what I saw. Bit of brown, specks of brown solid clumps here and there. Just drop that in. I'm actually going to put in a bit of Indian red for the hell of it, really, in this foreground. A little bit just holding in that back edge there. And there you go. Allow that to dry. Well, I'm finally changing to my other slightly smaller pointed mop. So I'll thoroughly damp that, take a bit of moisture off. Now I'm going to use Prussian blue, here we go, Prussian blue and Indian red for the trunk of that tree. Now I will be using the maul stick now because I need to support, out of picture of course, I just want to get this trunk right, and that's a little blue. I want a bit more red in there. There you go. Quite warm. Let's put a bit of burnt umber with that just to brown it off. There you go. Let's just thicken it up. So we've got that lovely old trunk, quite wide there. We can see trunk there like that. Nice warm brown, and then we just lose it there. Pick up a little bit more moisture on the brush as we head up there, and then of course we then see it again where you've got a break in the branch work there, and then it goes up like that. Don't want to use the rigger too much too early. Whether that's a good thing to do, I'm not really sure. But, and of course you will see the branches that have no leaf on, you know, because this time of year branches tend to lose their leafing. So it's always nice to have a few spare gaps where you can put some impressions of branches. And I say impressions because this is all they are really. They're purely impressions of the branches. Right, then we have a little larger branch heading off to there. And that is still damp, believe it or not, which could be an advantage if I load the brush with enough paint. There you go, that's better. And we have another smaller branch coming out there. Don't want to get fussy with this, try to speed up the process really. Rightly or wrongly, I need to give a more looser impression of this. It's getting a little fussy here now. See the way I've took that one from there? It's as if it's coming out a clump of lighter sunlit greenery. Well, autumn colouring. There's another larger branch coming through from there, and maybe a slightly larger up there, and there again some smaller branches that will tend to pull out to the extremes without any leafing on at all. And we will have a branch coming like that possibly. I think that's probably enough for what we need. So that's that large tree, and while I have that colour, waste not, want not, as the old term goes, I'm going to put in some of these sticks that stand up there, that actually supported planting at some point, obviously, but at this stage in the proceedings it's not actually supporting anything. and then there's just the dead stuff that lays up there like that. Lovely. Now we've got the blue bin at the front here. We have the fork handle, putting that in dark blue, and it just goes like that, just like that. I think that's good enough for the fork handle, going into the bin like that. And let's put a bit of red here, or alizarin. Look at that. Can't really see it too much, but there's some bits and bobs sticking out, some old sticks and bits and pieces, something hanging over the edge. Put a little bit of that there. Perfect. Now we just have the figure. And I did say figure there, and he had a very red coat on, which seems rather unusual. But I thought that sort of picked up quite well on the yeah. And then very dark blue for the legs. A little bit of movement to that figure. Coat wider. It's obviously winter. There we go. And oh, while we've got that dark colour, let's put the implement that he was holding. Not really sure what he was doing. It don't really matter, of course. Now, dark brown hair, burnt umber, rings the sort of feeling of that, I think. And we just put that on the back of the head, just the top and the back. And that way, it looks as if they've got, the face is looking down. And to be fair, we're not far off of shadow work. And for the shadow work, I'm going to use Prussian blue and Indian red. There you go. Plenty of blue in there. Don't want it to be too dark with this. I want to pick up the autumn feel, and I'm going to paint in the overhang of that roof, just a touch down there, and this side of the shed there, that one, don't worry about the casting shadow at this stage, that side of the shed, or that, the underside there, and that side of the shed there, and that's dark then against the green in the background. Paint over the window, that will shine through later on. Lovely dark shadow, and there will be a casting shadow from that building there. There you go, stand in lovely clear sunlight. And we're going to have some dappled light on that there from this tree that's overhanging there. We will have then the shadow from the two sheds running across like that. That's it. And of course the figure then we're just going to take a little bit off the brush. I want some softer shadows here. on the undersides there. I don't want to lose too much of that softness of everything. Okay, then we'll have the inside of the bin like that, and the around there's a little bit of a lip, and then that back edge is in shadow like that, and that's then casting the shadow. This is all good fun, isn't it? And then of course that casts a shadow down on there. Up to there. There you go. And then we need to just spread that shadow with a damp brush. You've probably seen me do this before. So we get a dappled shadow from those trees running like that. Look at that. Got a lovely atmospheric feel to that left hand side. Now I'm going in with some darker shadow work in this foreground like that. Don't go too high up with that. And I'm going to soften the top of that with water, just to create a softer feel. A little bit running over there, just so as it doesn't completely finish. A little bit there, and then just a little bit in this right hand side. Why not have a little bit on the tree? Help just to pull that all together, shall we? With some overhanging shadow work, a little bit of shadow here and there, just to darken that off, so we get another tone of colour, or another tone really, within that tree. And you can even go beyond that and take it up even higher there. Gives a lovely warm feel. Because I'm putting cool areas against that warm, the warm begins to look lighter or warmer. Go. Perfect. Just got to go in with a little bit of burnt umber with that, just to give it that added punch on that outside edge, and take it just up out of picture. That's better. Brilliant, look at that. Once we take the surround away, that'll be in its glory. A little bit too uniform here, so let's just stick one or two bits and pieces out that hang a little bit further away from that area. I still love that distant area there. Perfect. Let's allow that to dry. Well, I've moved in a little closer, and we're now going to use the rigger to paint. I have to use the maul stick just to hold my brush. Excuse me. Okay, right. Now we're going to use just a dark piece of paint, just dark warm colour, somewhere from the palette. Anything will do it really. And load the brush reasonably, but I want to show just some little edges, just finishing off. You have to just be careful you don't overdo this, because if you do, then it makes it look a little fussy. Any dark paint really. And if you're mixing, you can always use the Prussian blue and Indian red just to ring the changes on that. I'm just putting a little bit of detail into there. I'm also going to put in a little bit of detail where there's just something going on under that figure. It's always good to put in the odd bits and pieces really. And there was a door there, and I may even decide to put a door in this one. Go on then. Who knows? We don't care, do we? You know, we don't care if and I'm putting in some sections too to that door, and some hinging. Quite often you see that on these doors. There you go. There we are. There's a door. Little latch of some sort. No door on that one. We'll swap it the other way round. Don't want to show too much, but sometimes these little odd edges do help. I like the mystical feel of that. We can just highlight a couple of these here and there, just a little bit stronger, because I feel that would help. And a little bit of meshing across there, just to highlight that. Yeah, that's good. Oh, and just going to add a little more water to that dark. It's like a dark green actually, but it wouldn't make any difference because I'm making it look as if that door sits back in a recess. So I'm putting a shadow because the sun's coming from the left. That's where the shadow would be. There we are. And all of a sudden that door is recessed. But apart from that, I don't think, let's go a little darker, a little bit of red. Now, you know, now I'm beginning to put in some touches just for the sake of it, which is not, I would say a little bit around the figure would be nice, because I don't want to lose that crispness, but you can always just rub away just to soften them a little. Oh, I tell you what, let's just put in some paint there like that. Here we go, here's a little trick, and spread it up like that, spread it about, and all of a sudden you look as if you've got a sad sort of bushy area there. I'm picking up the back edge of that too, and I'm pulling that away from the corner. Yeah, it's all little touches that can make a big difference. And just putting in, that's going to be a rake. I just saw a rake there. Whether that looks like a rake now, not really sure, not really worried. One wonders whether we need to indicate just a little bit of, because it's shiplap boarding for these sheds, and they do have a corner section. I'm putting, let's just put a few on there. Just remember when you do this, the perspective of the whole thing. But I'm not going to put it into the shadow area, and I'm not going to put anything on the back one, so that the front shed comes forward. The back is less interesting, so it sits back. Right, let's take the surround away. Well, there is the finished painting on the board from my trip to the allotment the other day, and just going to sign it up. Bottom left hand corner, I think this time. Sign it up in with the rigger and put that in there in my normal sort of signature. And as always, I'm using the paint that I used for the painting. So there we have it on the allotment the other day. A lovely autumn feel to it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching that video of a fairly basic painting, really. Just a matter of clean washes. I hope you can join me next time. Thank you all for watching.